The Riverside Country Club buzzed with the kind of energy that only comes from old money and older grudges. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over perfectly arranged tables, each one costing more than most people's monthly salary. Dad's 65th birthday celebration was in full swing, with over 100 guests mingling in their designer outfits and practiced small talk. I sat at the family table wearing my usual Target jeans and a simple sweater, watching my relatives perform their well-rehearsed roles. Mom held court in her $3,000 Chanel dress, Dad beamed in his custom Italian suit, and my sister Jennifer sparkled in jewelry that could fund a small business. Meanwhile, I quietly ate my slice of the $500 custom birthday cake, invisible to everyone except when they needed someone to look down on. "Emily, darling," Mom's voice cut through the dinner conversation like a knife through silk. She had that particular tone she used when she was about to publicly humiliate me for everyone's entertainment. "Tell everyone about your little computer job again." The table went quiet. Aunt Margaret leaned forward with barely concealed glee. Uncle Robert adjusted his glasses, ready for the show. Jennifer smirked behind her wine glass, already knowing where this was headed. "I work in technology," I said simply, taking another bite of cake. "Technology," Mom repeated with a laugh that sounded like breaking glass. "She sits in some cramped office fixing computers for $15 an hour. At 28 years old." "Mom, that's not exactly—" "Don't interrupt me," she snapped, her voice rising just enough to carry to nearby tables. "Do you see what I mean, everyone? No ambition, no class, no future. She shows up to her father's milestone birthday looking like she shopped at a thrift store." Dad chuckled and raised his glass. "To think we paid for her college education. Harvard Business School, and this is what we got in return." "I did graduate magna cum laude," I pointed out quietly. "Fat lot of good it did," Jennifer chimed in. "Look at me, I'm married to a surgeon, we have the house in the Hamptons, 2 kids in private school. That's what success looks like, Emily. Not whatever you're doing." The conversation continued to spiral, each family member taking their turn to highlight my failures compared to their successes. Uncle Robert mentioned his law firm's record-breaking year. Aunt Margaret bragged about her son's promotion at Goldman Sachs. Even my teenage cousin got in a jab about his acceptance to Yale. I nodded and smiled through it all, occasionally saying "that's wonderful" or "congratulations," while mentally reviewing the quarterly reports I'd read that morning. Phoenix Technologies had exceeded projections again. Our AI-driven healthcare platform was revolutionizing patient care across 3 continents. The Children's Hospital donation I'd approved yesterday would fund an entire new wing. But they didn't need to know any of that. "The worst part," Mom continued, her voice getting sharper with each glass of wine, "is that she embarrasses this family every time someone asks about her. Oh, Emily, she's figuring things out. Do you know how humiliating it is to have to make excuses for your own daughter?" "Margaret," Dad said, his voice taking on a theatrical sadness, "some people are just born different. Emily's always been the odd one out. Remember how she used to spend hours alone with those computers instead of socializing like normal children? Those computers taught her how to fix them for minimum wage," Jennifer added, getting another round of laughter from the table. The conversation moved on to other topics. Their upcoming vacation to Monaco, the new yacht Dad was considering, Jennifer's husband's latest medical conference in Switzerland. Standard rich people problems that I'd once been part of but had voluntarily walked away from. My phone buzzed quietly with notifications. Stock prices, board meeting confirmations, approval requests for 3 different acquisition offers. I glanced at them discreetly while pretending to be fascinated by Uncle Robert's story about his golf handicap. The Phoenix Technologies stock had jumped another 12% after yesterday's announcement about our partnership with 5 major hospital systems. The board was recommending we go public within the next 18 months, with early projections putting our IPO valuation at $15 billion. As the founder and majority shareholder, that would put my personal net worth well above the $87 million it currently sat at. But none of that mattered right now. Right now, I was just Emily, the family disappointment who couldn't afford decent clothes. "You know what the real tragedy is?" Mom's voice pulled me back to the present. She had turned in her chair to face me directly, making sure everyone could see and hear what came next. "We raised her with every advantage. The best schools, the best opportunities, connections that most people would kill for. And she threw it all away to become this. She gestured at me like I was something distasteful she'd found on her shoe. I think, she continued, her voice carrying across not just our table but several nearby ones, it's time we stopped pretending she's part of this family. Look at her. She doesn't fit in here, she doesn't share our values, she doesn't contribute anything meaningful to society. She's not family anymore. The silence that followed was deafening. Even the nearby tables had gone quiet, everyone staring at our little drama unfolding. I could feel dozens of eyes on me, waiting to see how I'd react to being publicly disowned by my own mother at my father's birthday party. I took another bite of cake, chewed thoughtfully and swallowed before looking up at her. Okay, I said simply. That wasn't the reaction she'd expected. Mom's face twisted with confusion and anger. Okay, she repeated. That's all you have to say? Your own mother just told you you're not family anymore and you say, okay? What would you like me to say? I asked, genuinely curious. You've made your feelings clear. I'm not going to argue with you at Dad's birthday party. Dad leaned forward, sensing that Mom's big moment wasn't having the impact she'd hoped for. Emily, your mother is trying to help you understand that there are consequences for the choices you make. You can't just drift through life without ambition and expect to remain part of a family that values success. I understand, I said, checking my phone as another notification came in. The children's hospital donation had been processed. Dr. Martinez would be thrilled when she saw the funds hit their account tomorrow morning. Then maybe you'll finally do something about it, Jennifer added. Get a real job, start dating someone appropriate, dress like you have some self-respect. It's not too late to turn your life around. I was about to respond when the large TV mounted on the far wall of the dining room suddenly increased in volume. Someone had turned it up for the evening news. Good evening, I'm Channel 7 News with a breaking story about local philanthropy. The anchor's voice carried clearly across the now quiet restaurant. In an unprecedented move, a local technology executive has donated $10 million to Children's Memorial Hospital, the largest single donation in the hospital's 75-year history. The restaurant had gone completely silent now, everyone turning to watch the news story. I kept eating my cake, though I could feel my heart rate increasing slightly. The anonymous donor was revealed today as Emily Parker, founder and CEO of Phoenix Technologies, whose innovative AI healthcare platform has revolutionized patient care worldwide. Ms. Parker's company, valued at over $3 billion, has been operating in stealth mode for the past 5 years. My family's table was frozen like a photograph. Mom's wine glass was halfway to her lips, Dad's fork suspended in midair, Jennifer's mouth literally hanging open. Around us, other diners began whispering and pointing in our direction. The news story continued. The donation will fund the construction of an entirely new pediatric wing, featuring state-of-the-art medical technology, much of it developed by Parker's own company. Hospital director Dr. Sarah Martinez called it, a gift that will save thousands of children's lives over the coming decades. The camera cut to footage of me from yesterday's donation ceremony, shaking hands with the hospital board, wearing the same cheap clothes I had on tonight. The news anchor's voice continued over the images. Parker, whose personal net worth is estimated at $87 million, started Phoenix Technologies in her tiny apartment 5 years ago with just $5,000 in savings. The company now employs over 2,000 people and has contracts with healthcare systems on 4 continents. I finally looked up from my cake to find every single person at the table staring at me in various stages of shock, confusion, and what looked like physical nausea. Phoenix Technologies? Dad whispered, his voice barely audible. The Phoenix Technologies? The company that's been in the Wall Street Journal every week for the past year. The same Phoenix Technologies that handles all the medical AI for Jennifer's husband's hospital? Mom added, her face pale as her expensive foundation. I nodded and took another bite of cake. That's the one. The news story was wrapping up with more details about the donation and Phoenix Technologies' rapid growth. But nobody at our table was listening anymore. They were all staring at me like I'd grown a second head. You're Emily Parker, Aunt Margaret said slowly as if testing the words. The Emily Parker. The one they've been calling the stealth billionaire in Forbes. Technically, I'm not quite a billionaire yet, I corrected. The IPO should get me there next year though. Jennifer's husband, Dr. Stephen Morrison, who had been quietly eating his dinner throughout the earlier conversation, suddenly spoke up. Emily, I need to ask you something. The new diagnostic AI system we've been using at the hospital, the one that's increased our accuracy rate by 40%, that's your technology? Yeah, that's one of our earlier platforms. We have some much more advanced systems launching next quarter. He put down his fork and stared at me. Emily, that system has helped us save over 200 lives in the past 6 months alone. The cardiac prediction algorithm caught cases we would have missed entirely. That's the point, I said. Healthcare should be about saving lives, not just making money. Mom found her voice first, though it came out as more of a croak. Why didn't you tell us? Why did you let us think? Why didn't you say anything? I considered the question carefully. When would I have told you? Between Mom calling me a disappointment or Dad explaining how I embarrassed the family. Maybe during one of Jennifer's speeches about how I need to get my life together. The silence stretched uncomfortably long. You've been sitting here for 3 years, I continued, watching me get insulted and humiliated at every family gathering. Not once did any of you ask what I actually do for work or show any interest in my life beyond making jokes about my clothes. You assumed I was a failure and you were comfortable with that assumption because it made you feel superior. Dad cleared his throat, his business instincts finally kicking in despite the shock. Emily, this is incredible news. We should celebrate. We should talk about opportunities, maybe some family investment in the company's expansion. I laughed, a sound that seemed to surprise everyone at the table. Dad, Phoenix Technologies is valued at over $3 billion. I don't need family investment. I've been supporting myself just fine. But we're family, Mom said, her voice taking on a pleading tone that I'd never heard before. Family supports each other. We can help with connections, social events, networking. Like you've been helping for the past 3 years? I asked. By telling everyone I'm not really family anymore? By being embarrassed to mention me to your friends? Jennifer, who had been uncharacteristically quiet, finally spoke. Emily, I think there's been a misunderstanding. We didn't know. You didn't know because you didn't want to know, I interrupted. You were all perfectly happy having someone to look down on. The family failure made everyone else feel more successful by comparison. My phone buzzed again with a text from my assistant. The Washington Post wants to interview you about the donation. Should I schedule it for tomorrow? I typed back quickly, sure, 2 p.m. works. The table watched me text, probably wondering if I was coordinating another multi-million-dollar deal right in front of them. Emily, Uncle Robert said carefully, I think we need to discuss this as a family. There are obviously some hurt feelings, but family is family. We should work through this together. I finished the last bite of my cake and wiped my mouth with the cloth napkin. Around us, other diners were still stealing glances and whispering, clearly recognizing me from the news story. You know what's funny? I said, standing up from the table. 10 minutes ago, Mom announced to this entire restaurant that I wasn't family anymore. Now suddenly family is family. I picked up my simple black purse, the same Target purse they'd been making fun of earlier, and slung it over my shoulder. The donation ceremony is tomorrow at 10 a.m. if anyone wants to come. It'll be on the news again. I turned to Dad. Happy birthday, Dad. I hope you enjoy the rest of your party. As I walked toward the exit, I could hear the explosion of conversation behind me. Whispered arguments, Jennifer's voice rising in panic, chairs scraping as people leaned in to get the full story. My phone rang as I reached my car, the same 10-year-old Honda Civic that had gotten me through graduate school in the early days of Phoenix Technologies. Emily. I just saw the news. Dr. Martinez's excited voice filled the car as I answered on Bluetooth. I can't believe you did this for us. Do you have any idea how many children this will help? That's exactly why I did it, I said, starting the engine. How's the planning going for tomorrow's ceremony? Perfect. The mayor will be there along with the hospital board and several families whose children have been helped by your existing technology. Oh, and Channel 7 wants to do a follow-up story about Phoenix Technologies' other charitable work. Sounds good. Send me the schedule when you have a chance. I drove home through the quiet suburban streets, thinking about the conversation that was probably still raging back at the country club. Tomorrow, when the donation ceremony hit the news again, when the follow-up stories about Phoenix Technologies ran, when my family's friends started asking questions about their unsuccessful daughter, things would be different. Not because I'd finally proven myself to them, but because they'd finally proven themselves to me. My phone displayed another text from Jennifer. Emily, can we talk? I think there's been a huge misunderstanding. I didn't respond. Some misunderstandings aren't worth clearing up, especially when they reveal exactly who people really are when they think it doesn't matter. The Children's Hospital donation was just the beginning. Phoenix Technologies had bigger plans, better technology, and more ways to make a real difference in the world. And for the first time in 3 years, I wouldn't have to explain any of it to people who had already decided I wasn't worth listening to.